What's up, everybody? As you can tell, it is an absolutely beautiful day here in northern Reno, Nevada. About 65 degrees in February. That groundhog back home in Pennsylvania, he was dead wrong. There will be no more winter. It's all spring from here on out, baby. And with that being said, I figured I'd take you guys on my first hike of 2026. And we're going to be sampling something actually pretty cool and regional to the Reno area. Reno's home to not one, but two of the original 1920s and 1930s airmail navigational aero beacons that line the United States from coast to coast. I believe this route ran from San Francisco through Sacramento, through Reno, and on to Elko. So I'm here on the west side of town, about halfway up the side of the Tom Cooke Trail. And we're going to go try and find this western side navigational arrow. The eastern side is somewhere buried in a quarry way that way, so we're going to worry about that maybe sometime in the future, or never, depending on if I can get there or not. But this one's perfectly reasonable, up a nice trail on a beautiful day. So without further ado, let's get going. I'll take you guys on a fun little hike with me. So nowadays, all that's left of most of these navigational aids is just the cement arrow that was layered on the ground. But seeing that doesn't give you a full scope of what it used to be. Most of these stations had a full radio navigation tower on one end of the arrow, and then like a little office building type of monitoring station on the other end of the arrow. And some of them were actually even equipped more fully with things like hangars, personnel, different things of the like that. Now, come late 30s, around World War II, a lot of the beacons ended up being scrapped for the metal. And with World War II, of course, came VOR and VORTAC, different newer radio navigational aids that made just visual aids on the ground useless. So a lot of them were destroyed or made obsolete by the war effort. However, I guess as of at least still 2017, there were still a few in certain states across the country that were used as still traditional navigational beacons for aircraft, which is pretty cool. But we're gonna go up to the top of this mountain here, and we're gonna see what's left. And from what I could tell from satellite images, it is mostly just the cement arrow. But I'll try and put some pictures and give you guys some scope of what that used to be. So we'll see. Now, this particular beacon was one of the first stops along the Transcontinental Airmail Route, which was a major route running from San Francisco to New York City through the middle of the country, with stops in places like Reno and Salt Lake City and Chicago in between. And I could not find any historical photos of when this was first built, but I was able to find a little newspaper record of around the time it was built, being the date in July of 1928. And of course, here is a photograph of how they would look, or at least a schematic of how they would look here back in the day when they were still going in full bore. We have arrived. Look at this gorgeous cement arrow, shadowed by the Sierra Nevadas. Now, there isn't actually much left, like I said, but these things are living pieces of history. They were essential for the early days of aviation, and some of them have more pieces left than others. Of course, this one I'm sure has been graffitied up and torn up, and some of them don't even have the cement arrow left anymore, as I've said. But this is a very cool piece of little local aviation history for any aviation buffs in the area. And you can see its purpose. I mean, planes would come from the west over the snowy Sierra Nevadas, if they can make it. They'd follow the river down, and they'd find our navigation arrow, and they'd continue east to the Reno International Airport, where they drop off their mail, and then continue further east, looking for the next arrow out west of Sparks and onward towards Elko. Now, where I'm standing used to be at one time our navigational tower, which lies, of course, up from this spot in the middle of the arrow Combined with that and the arrow will provide a nice visual beacon for pilots flying east over the Sierra Nevadas towards their destination, which was probably from this point, more often than not, Reno International Airport. Still, to this day, only a few miles that direction. But even beyond that, there's arrows placed all over this map. There's directions going up towards Seattle, down towards San Diego, all the way across the country to New York, Philadelphia, Chicago. Any of those places you needed your mail to get to safely back in the day on time. These navigation arrows were an absolutely critical piece of equipment. And of course, behind where my camera is stationed would be where their shed was, which would contain their little modest electronic station and their tools. Everything they needed, of course, to run this station to help get your mail safely to where it needed to go. And as I said, some of these stations were more robust than others. This one was very modest, probably containing nothing more than the beacon, arrow, and the tower itself. But they served a very important purpose. These were critical back in the day before radio navigation. They helped you get safely to where you needed to be if you were a pilot, and they helped you receive your mail on time as a customer of the United States Postal Service. And it is a very, very cool piece of history. You'll have to excuse the little bit of windiness in this video. My equipment is still kind of lacking, but if you are interested in visiting this beautiful location, this beautiful piece of aviation history, include the Google Maps location in the description and on the video screen, and you guys can give this beautiful hike a try. It's very moderate, not too extreme, a little steep at the end, but nothing too crazy, nothing anybody in good shape can't do. So if you'd like to check out this piece of history, please, I do encourage it. Very close to downtown Reno, and it is a very cool piece of history. So thanks for joining me. Have a good one.